The Republican convention did its very best to shove the right-wing roadmap to a second Trump term, Project 2025, into a dungeon. But even if it wasn't mentioned, the subtext of it was everywhere in the ideas presented on stage. Donald Trump even name-checked an official with ties to Project 2025.
The invasion at our southern border, we will stop it, and we will stop it quickly. You heard Tom Homan yesterday. Tom Homan, put him in charge and just sit back and watch.
Who is this Tom Homan that Trump says we should just sit back and watch? Well, he's a former acting director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement during the Trump administration. He's been referred to as the intellectual father of the family separation policy. Homan spoke Wednesday night, but didn't go quite as far as what he said in the events in the lead up to the convention.
They ain't seen yet. Wait till 2025. Trump comes back in January. I'll be on his heels coming back, and I will run the biggest deportation operation this country's ever seen. No one's off the table. If you're in the country legally, it's not okay. If you're in the country legally, you better be looking over your shoulder.
First of all, let's not gloss over the horrific cruelty of what he said. But also, we should point out that that second part was at the Heritage Foundation Policy Fest on the sidelines of the convention this week in Milwaukee. The same Heritage Foundation behind Project 2025. Homan is a visiting fellow at Heritage. And he's even listed in the Project 2025 manual as a contributor. So just because you didn't hear the words Project 2025, there were tells all over the convention: the mass deportations, drill baby drill, anti-LGBTQ policies, and open transphobia, things that are wildly unpopular outside of that arena, which is probably why Trump's senior advisor insisted again on Thursday that the Trump campaign doesn't have anything to do with the project written by 31 people who had roles in Trump's administration.
They're a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So because they change, the issues that are going to win us this campaign are not the issues that they want to talk about.
Donald Trump's meandering, nonsensical, Fidel Castro-like speech last night didn't give the impression that Trump knows what those issues are either. I mean, it's not like Grampy, the retired vaudeville showman, is some sort of policy guru. So it begs the question, what would it mean to have a president in office who is that far gone cognitively, that much in his own world? Because Trump's incoherence about everything suggests that MAGA bureaucrats like Tom Homan would be completely empowered. Trump said so himself, letting the worst of Project 2025 and its dark vision of America run amok. A dark vision exactly in line with the dystopia of making America great once again that was presented at that convention. And that's coming up next.
Biden and the Democrats are doing everything they can to tear down this great country and rebuild it in their woke, radical image.
This fringe agenda includes biological males competing against girls, and the sexualization and indoctrination of our children.
Every day, Americans are dying. Murdered, assaulted, raped by illegal immigrants that the Democrats have released. Teenage girls and boys wearing colored wristbands are being sold into a life of sex slavery.
We become totally unhinged if Donald Trump is not elected in November.
Well, the unhinged part is actually accurate. Well, so much for unity. That was just a little taste of the dark, dystopian, fake masculine, anti-LGBTQ, anti-immigrant vision of America that we heard over the course of the past 4 days from the Republican Party, all of which can be boiled down to two words: Project 2025. Joining me now, Basil Smikle, Democratic strategist and MSNBC political analyst, and Joan Walsh, national affairs correspondent for The Nation. Thank you, friends. I appreciate y'all being here. Let me just get your thoughts on all that you saw in Ladies First.
Ladies First.
I mean, because ladies were not first at that convention.
No, absolutely
It was not about women at all.
No, it was doubling.
Were you surprised, by the way, that abortion not mentioned at all?
It's not popular. And they got what they wanted. They're going to keep taking it, and it's not popular, so that's off the table for discussion.
Yeah.
But what I think is so interesting, when he picked J.D. Vance, I was like, it's the He-Man woman haters club.
Yeah.
Doubling down on misogyny. I mean, the things that J.D. Vance has said, criticizing women who leave violent marriages because they should have stayed together for the children, or they should have stayed together like his wacky grandparents did, completely against abortion under any circumstances, against subsidized daycare, because you're subsidizing something that normal people don't want. Normal people meaning the wife stays home.
Right.
So, I mean, the level of misogyny that Trump embodies, J.D. Vance expresses in policy ways, has a very serious policy agenda that's anti-women. So that was freakish to me. Mass deportations now as a fun sign to
and they could drop balloons on it.
Yeah,
it was fun for everybody.
That was really fun.
Let me play a little sound mash, because there was sort of a manosphere. It was sort of like the manosphere that people aren't familiar with it. It's on YouTube. All these YouTubers who are like man-tubers, and it's all about bringing the country back to like the 50s where the men are in charge. Here is a little taste of the entertainment.
They tried to kill the next president of the United States. Enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Say fight, fight. Say fight, fight. Say fight, fight.
Let me be very clear. If you are a man in this country and you don't vote for Donald Trump, you're not a man. I mean, like, who are you? You're not going to vote for that? I mean...
Okay, Basil, the thing about the kind of the conservative Republican version of manliness is that it is supine in its obedience to Donald Trump.
Right.
So it's a man that's taking the knee and then being macho by hating women.
It's a toxic masculinity. There's no question about it. The Hulk Hogan thing, I was like, really? My God.
He's like 80. I don't want to have like an 80-year-old ribbon on his shirt.
That's just, right. That's just And the funny thing is, it's actually a tragic thing, is if I showed as a black man any level of that kind of confidence, I'd be considered uppity
and aggressive
and
dangerous.
And they'd be a noose ready for me.
Right.
Back in the days that they're trying to take us back
to the point that you made, when the black man who was the most sort of prominent, who showed himself off, was Tim Scott.
Right.
But he didn't do that kind of masculinity. He did sort of a bug-eyed sort of vaudeville act.
That is exactly right. Let me talk about the misogyny, because you know how deep it gets, and I was talking about this the other day. There is a national plan to get rid of no-fault divorces.
Mm-hmm.
How crazy is that? Right. 50 states now have them. This is a way for these men who want to push this to keep women potentially in abusive relationships. That's why we have no-fault divorces, so it made it easier for women to get out of those situations. And by the way,
Donald Trump's whole lifestyle would be impossible without no-fault divorces.
That's exactly right.
But here's the thing, Joan. I mean, you wrote a great book. I always tout it. It's called What's the Matter with White People? Which what it did was it talked about the way that sort of white men have been conditioned, right, into a kind of politics that doesn't necessarily help them economically. But here's the thing that's interesting. People forget what Joe Biden's superpower was in 2020. Here's 2016 versus 2020, how white men voted. Hillary Clinton only got 32% of white men. Trump got 62%. You take that to 4 years later, Trump gets 57%, Biden got 40%. That's part of the reason that Trump was so afraid of him, and it's one of the reasons that they despise him. He's actually dangerous. He's basically the real J.D. Vance.
He's the real J.D. Vance. He's getting that voter back, or at least some of those voters, even the white non-college educated white men.
That's who he is.
Yeah.
He's college educated, but he comes from them, right?
He comes from them.
And didn't write a book dissing them.
No. A book that dripped with condescension to the people who raised him and got him out of, got him to where he is now. I guess that's Peter Thiel.
Yeah.
Who got him to where he is now.
That's why the freak out is so disturbing, because it's not like those voters are going to go, that don't like what they're seeing now, are going to go right to Donald Trump. They want to find a way to stay with Joe Biden.
Right.
So the Democratic Party just needs to show these signs of strength, not this constant freak out that they're doing.
Yeah.
And I think what Joe Biden has done, and I've been saying this, he's got 3,894 delegates. Mm-hmm. And he's like, come get them. You want them? Come get them. They're mine. And I'm keeping them. And you know what? To me, that's a sign of strength. And that's a sign of vitality. And that's a sign that he wants this and he's in this. And why is there this creation of these stumbling blocks to just make him look weak, make the party look weak, because all we're doing is sending voters away.
Yeah.
When they actually want to stay with us.
Yeah.
Right.
And the other piece of it is the sort of diss to a woman.
That is
on this side, on the Democratic side as well.
Yeah, because that is the most disturbing. And I saw you had Latasha Brown on. And I think that there's an enormous anger. There's a fear of putting her in a position where she loses.
That too.
But she cannot be passed over. And, you will see a ferocity should President Biden decide to do the right thing for himself, for the country, and step aside. He would have to endorse her immediately, and then you might see people falling back in line, falling in love.
Yeah, otherwise it'll be civil war in the Democratic Party. I can tell you that. Don't go anywhere. Basil and Joan are sticking around because guess what we're going to do? We're going to play our favorite game because you know what? Even when times are terrible, somebody won the week. And for more on Republicans' extreme policies and how Project 2025 promises to upend our republic, go to msnbc.com/readoutproject2025. where we are breaking down that horrid document one topic at a time. And we're going to continue to do so until the election.